Hello, hi. Good morning to you. Today is Tuesday, the 1st of December 2020. You know, we're just 6 days away from the general election. However, today happens to be the special voting where people in the security services and media men and anybody who wishes to vote today have been given the opportunity to so do. Well, it is underway. Some constituencies or some polling stations have started voting. In fact, they all started at 7 a.m. The EC has done well in terms of time management. So we're going to be dealing with all other issues here on the morning show. It's very, very important. But before we proceed to look at the topics that we've tabled for our conversation, and also before I introduce my panelists for today's conversation, let me extend a special voice of greetings to a very special friend of mine, Sami Ewuku. Sami Ewuku is doing a very good job for his party, the MPP, traversing across the country and, you know, renewing confidence in the people and also reassuring the people of their party's commitment to doing a lot more for the development of our dear nation, Ghana. So, Sami Ewuku, if you are watching me this morning, or if anybody is watching this morning, they should tell Sami Ewuku that I extend a very heartfelt greetings to him, and I wish him all the best. May God grant him some strength. I've seen his recent picture. He looks very, very, very tired. So don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. And Saka, you want to say something, right?
Oh
yeah. I mean, it's asked for Sami Ewuku.
Yeah, I think
he's a great guy.
I think that Sami Ewuku is a great guy.
Yeah, great guy. Very great guy.
He's a man of our time. We adore him so much. He has proven time and again that the youth can, you know, easily fit into the shoes of the elderly.
Yeah.
And I think that he is carving a niche for himself.
Yeah.
And at the appropriate time, you know, the youth will answer to the call of duty.
Absolutely.
And let me also use this opportunity to wish Adjaumu of West Central all the best in the coming election. Today is Tuesday. The next the 7th December will be on Monday, so I won't be here. But I think that if you look at the things that she has done in West Central, she deserves to win this election. If West Central people reject her, I think it will be a demoralizing factor for would be people who are competent, who have the wherewithal to contest such seat to come. And there's a clear contradiction in what her opponents are, you know, doing. In what people are saying that she's a woman. Meanwhile, your flag bearer, the running mate, is also a woman, and people are denigrating women.
Oh,
calling her names.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, we're calling her names and all that just because that she's not old enough. And when we gave you a person who is old, like Nana Danko Akufado, he said, "Oh, he's old. We'll give you a young lady." He said she's too young. I don't know what other people want, but I am confident in the fact that the people of West Central, those that are, you know, talking that way, are in the minority.
Okay,
and I pray
Kwame,
and hope that she will win.
Very briefly, though, you know, this I heard you say Sami Ewuku is great, and then I also heard Saka say Sami Ewuku is great, and he's great, and he's great. I've never met this great Sami Ewuku gentleman. So I'm wondering, what has he done? Why is he great? What has he done? I mean,
his people skills. He's like Hamza. His people skills.
Really, I mean,
when you meet him, you cannot but love him.
Okay, that's why he's great.
He's a very great guy.
Oh, okay. So he's greater than the president, because the president,
the president is the greatest. And he will remain so.
Okay. I have not encountered the president. The first time we met was in Rwanda.
Okay.
And indeed, I represented the Rwandan Law Students Association.
Fantastic. I didn't know that.
We were faced with a challenge, and I needed to speak on behalf of the group that went to see the president.
Sure, that is the Rwandan president.
No, I'm talking about Nana Addo Akufo. He was in Rwanda.
Of course.
You know, yes. And that was the time I met him. He appears to be a very nice guy too. You know,
he will be president.
Yeah.
Although that he said very nice.
No, I mean, I have not. Listen to what I said. I have not encountered.
Yes.
You see, look, both presidents. Listen, both presidents, both Nana Akufo-Addo and Mahama. I've encountered them.
Yeah.
I can't say I know Akufo-Addo very well.
Yeah.
But at least I know Mahama.
How do you know him?
Oh, I know him. I know him. He's
because he came here to.
It's not about because he came. He was at my outdooring. I invited Nana Akufo-Addo. He didn't come.
Oh, you didn't know the invitation?
I did. I have both numbers. I can show you his number.
Oh, but you should have told me.
I should have told you.
Yeah. Maybe they
come off from the ambassador. Don't give you.
But Samuel Oku is great. He's great.
Are we to this?
No, he's one of
that's what you want.
No, this guy.
I thought maybe I thought he had invented something, or maybe built one district, one dam, or something like that.
He departs from the cliche that people have about politicians. The fact that politicians are not open. The fact that politicians do not think about the plight of the people when they are given the opportunity to so govern. Right? He has departed from that, that assertion.
He's not a parliamentarian, though, is he?
He's not. He's,
But Kwame, I want to make some. You see, you know what the CPP, what they are doing, electoral shock is criminal. Because it's a criminal offense to electoral shock.
Thank you, electric you so much.
The lawyer should talk about the CPP and we dominate the news.
Thank you very much.
It's criminal.
Hamza Suhini is also. Hamza, good morning.
Good morning.
Why are you sitting so quietly, observing the rhetorics?
Well, not really observing the rhetoric, but just reflecting on how far we have come.
Yeah.
And the ongoing election today, as far as the security officers and some members of the media fraternity is concerned. And I think to a very large extent, the mood of the country as we go through this one-day exercise, hoping by the grace of God to repeat same for the entire country on the 7th of December. That's somewhere next week. So clearly I am reflecting deeply on the
journey so far. Whether I am proper campaigns.
Precisely. And I am pretty much convinced that in all respects and in all aspects of life, I think that the security forces of this country and the media appreciate the challenging times that we find ourselves as a people, and probably are better placed more than many other citizens out there to assess the failures of this government, and based on which they are willing to take a decision that would not only protect their various institutions, but to a very large extent protect the sanctity of our democracy, and most importantly protect the stability of this country. And I say so, Kwame, largely because of the unfortunate incidents we've had as far as the media is concerned since Nanado assumed office, the unfortunate attacks on media men in this country, the gruesome murder of the likes of Ahmed Swale. And so as media men queue today to vote, these telling atrocities perpetrated by the NPP government with the full blessing of the presidency must be at the forefront as the media men of this country queue to make a choice as to who governs this country come 7th January. And to our military people, at least we are pretty much aware of the indecent infiltration into the ranks of the Ghana military and Ghana Police Service, the questionable promotions and transfers, and in most cases, the sudden elevation of party hoodlums in national security outfits over our Ghana military staff. These issues, amongst others, must occupy the minds of our security officers out there as they endeavor to change course and ensure that sanity is brought back into their operations.
Did you partake in the probity and accountability march?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I was in Tamale the whole of last week.
You've lost your voice. That's what I'm
saying. I have. I've been moving around with His Excellency, the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama.
Okay.
And so we went to a number of constituencies in the northern region. I just happened to return to Accra yesterday.
Absolutely.
And so, in solidarity with the probity and accountability march, it is only proper that I congratulate our comrades for that show of fidelity to the principles of probity and accountability. Right. And I can assure them that the next NDC government, led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will undoubtedly reflect these principles in government.
Kwame, right. I think that Suhini decided to choose his own topics.
No, it's my preliminary comment.
No, this cannot be. This can no.
Introductory remark.
And therefore,
let me introduce the topics. Let me introduce the topics.
The introductory remark means a rebuttal.
No.
Introductory remark.
Let me introduce the topics. Let me introduce the topics. All right, and then if you want to rebut, well, that's you see some of your time to do so, because I allowed all of us. You did Hadia Humu. I'm not sure there was anybody here to rebut that.
Exactly.
He did electroshock. Nobody rebutted, and he also got this opportunity to speak to his party's, activities. Togo's first female presidential candidate arrested. Ghanaian Times newspaper. PIAC blows alarm and says $169 million oil cash missing. The Insight newspaper reported that NDC will win 60% of parliamentary seats, the new Palava. Martin Amidu explodes. Akufo-Addo is mother serpent of corruption. The National Inquirer. Why are we now discussing this mother serpent issue? Because I think that is a belated one, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it is.
Anyway,
I think maybe the people are interested.
Right. So regardless, of course. Regardless, let's kickstart. Let me introduce my panelists. Hamza Suhini is with the NDC, Saka Salia is with the MPP, and Soprano Sapon Sylvester is with the CPP. Today, fortunately, I have 3 firebrands. I don't know how I'm going to manage to control these people. Hopefully, some sanity will prevail on the show. But be sure that you're going to hear the word highfalutin today. Anyway, so Togo's first female Togo's first female presidential candidate arrested. It's interesting. In Togo, the things that are happening really doesn't find expression in logic. To the extent that they claim they are practicing democracy or some semblance of it. However, they don't allow the opposition parties to freely express themselves, either by way of demonstrations or either by way of publicly making pronouncements that appears not to be in favor of the ruling Nyasingbe government. Indeed, this one doesn't come as a surprise to some of us, because we know that they have always tried. I mean, the government in power now have always tried to gag, voices of dissent. But to go further, to arrest opposition leaders, really demonstrates to us that you do not want to practice that which you preach. And it only goes to buttress the long-standing assertion or position held by many that this particular administration in Togo does not want to cede power. They don't want to they don't want to lose power. They don't want to get out from the office. They want to enjoy what is there to enjoy. So, I mean, and to make matters worse, when they wanted to even embark on a demonstration against this current administration, the government cancels it and says that, well, for fear of spreading coronavirus, we have decided to cancel this particular demonstration. It adds to the many, many fears expressed by citizens of Togo that if care is not taken, the democracy that they are seeking to protect, or the democracy that they are seeking to practice, eventually will be submerged, within the political conversations of Togo. Let me come to you and start with you, Soprano, on this subject matter.
Thank you much, Kwame, and nice to great panel. I agree with you, Kwame, and I also want to use the opportunity to send out my regards to my friend Makabe in Kumasi, who is an avid fan of your program, Kwame, and all Ghanaians and around the world. Kwame, the issue of Togo's first female presidential candidate under arrest, lets me appreciate the more the opportunities we have in Ghana. Ghana, we are blessed with a I think a conciliatory attitude or conciliatory nature as a people, and I'm just grateful that I live in a country where at this point in time in our political history, we have the ability. Look, the kinds of criticisms that we make of the president, our presidents, like certain presidents.
Bring it.
I mean, even from the days of President J.J. Rawlings, who I would say, you know, did his best to, you know, sort of continue with democracy when he finally came around to understanding that it was the best way forward. Because there was a time, I remember, when I think a journalist called Vice President, the late Vice President Mills, called him a mongrel. Yes, the late president, and President Rawlings, they called the Vice President a mongrel, and President Rawlings was really, the late president was really, you know, mad, you know, that but he didn't take any action as would have been expected in the totalitarian regime, okay, or in some of these pseudo democracies we see occurring in places like Togo, Uganda, you know, Zimbabwe, and other places across the continent, you know. So I just want to use the opportunity to, you know, take my hat off, or doff my hat, my cap, as they say, you know, to stalwarts, you know, the flag bearers, the torch bearers, pathfinders of democracy in this country, in our time, people like Mr. Kwesi Pratt, Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., you know, who just was unstoppable in his quest to, you know, let there be this light of democracy shining upon the land. I want to mention Comrade Kweku Bakon. You know, Comrade Kwesi Pratt, we in the CPP, we are seeing him lately to be very nice with the NDC, but we still love him in the CPP. And then when you go to Comrade Kweku Bakon, another stalwart who made sacrifices for the democratic dispensation we are enjoying, you know, today, you know, Comrade Kweku Bakon, he is also now seemingly very close to President Akufo-Addo and the NPP ideology, but we still love him. You see, we still love him, and he's another person that we want to, you know, mention. I want to mention Professor Edubuahe, the late Professor Edubuahe. You understand? He made, you know, massive sacrifices. At that time, there was something called the culture of silence. And you know, he's credited with breaking the culture of silence. I want to mention President J. Kufuor, who I think, you know, sought to make the concept of good governance a hallmark of his presidency, and largely succeeded. I would say, you know, at least he set a certain high standard. I give him my regards. And then the late President J.J. Rawlings, you understand, you cannot but congratulate him on finally coming to understand that democracy was the way forward, because the fact is that he did interrupt our democratic exercise. You understand? If President Rawlings had not overthrown the peacemaker, Dr. Hilal Liman, President of the Republic of Ghana, I'm telling you that the advances in democracy that we are enjoying today would have been 20 years ahead than it is today, but for President J.J. Rawlings's coup d'etat in 1981. You know, so well, I mean, if this past 20 years or 20 something, 18 or so years, so many years that we've been practicing democracy, okay, I think you would agree with me, Kwame, that Ghana has made the most consistent progress over the past since 1992. You know, Ghana has made the most consistent progress since the overthrow of the CPP in 1966, because post 1966 and prior to 1992, what we had was a disjointed, you know, unmoored, lost in the wilderness economic and political direction, because it was directionless. However, when we all agreed, we came to our senses, Constituent Assembly, 1992 Constitution, since 1966, the 1992 Constitution and the dispensation thereof has you know, brought more development to Ghana than ever before. So based on that empirical, you know, record, empirical evidence, I think it is you know, reasonable. I think you must agree with me, based on the facts, the empirical facts, that if President Rawlings and you know, Honorable Totobi Kwache and, you know, Dr. Kwesi Botwe and co hadn't done the coup, you know, Professor Ahoy, if they hadn't interrupted President Dr. Hilal Liman, by the grace of God, who was doing a fantastic job, considering he inherited the 1970s, the chaos of the 1970s. So you remember, just by the way, Kwame, last week when we were reading the Inside newspaper, the CIA of the United States, Central Intelligence Agency, talked about the fact that in the first about 10 years of the leadership of President Rawlings, during the days of the PNDC from 1981, that he was preoccupied with his survival, right, and stuff like that. So he wasn't focusing. And I'll say this, Kwame, and get up so others can come in. Remember, the Divestiture Implementation Committee and all of those things that Professor Ahoy sold off all our stuff, and then the Gehok Industries that Dr. Kwesi Botwe, just destroyed and broke Ghana's industrial backbone. You see, all of those things would never have occurred if there had been a parliament in a democratic dispensation. So Ghana has lost a lot through the actions of these people I mentioned. But we wish them well. We bless them. We want them to write books though. You understand? But I'm just saying that when you look at what is happening in Togo, then you say that God bless these patriots that I mentioned. You know, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., President Akufo-Addo, he was one of them. You know, he stood up for this democracy. Professor Tatuchi Kata. Professor Edubuahen. And when you say Tatuchi Kata, I'm forced to hesitate because he was part of the coup d'etat peoples in the MPNDC. You see, so I don't know about maybe he had good intent, but he was a member of the coup d'etat people in the PNDC. Well, but I think you have well admitted. But he is a patriot.
You have well admitted that all of the people who were involved in that process subsequently ushered us into a new dawn.
Because they realized they had made a mistake.
And therefore, but everybody
and wasted Ghana's 20 years
without blemish. So we cannot also sit here and act all sacrosanct. Everybody is but without blemish. We all have our own.
But I love that Tatuchi Kata and all the NDC, PNDC gurus.
But largely we are seeking to appreciate the democratic, despotic leadership in Togo.
Sure.
And you do recall that even prior to the elections in Togo, one person who was the lead crusader against the struggles that were bedeviling the people in Togo was Bernard Mona. He, together with a few others, even organized a demonstration in Ghana in an attempt to bring to the attention of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to intercede on behalf of the people of Togo, because they were being brutalized, they were being killed, they were being arrested forcefully, etc. You know, so we need to, as a matter of urgency, begin to engage ourselves in a more serious conversation relative to what is happening in Togo, because of the dire consequences or the rippling effect that it has, or it is likely to have on Ghana, particularly because of the closeness that Ghana has with.
And Kwame, you know what? It's so fantastic what you're saying, because it even brings into perspective, or puts into perspective, what has been happening, especially under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, where he seems to be very determined to enforce border patrol duties on the Togo border. If the situation in Togo deteriorates, Ghana will be inundated with our relatives, you know, our blood relations who live across the border, possibly dislocated. Kwame, what I'll say is that I don't see why a country like Ghana and a president of the pedigree and provenance of Nana Akufo-Addo, you know, His Excellency, I don't know why he cannot, you know, take a lead so that we can sanction Togo. Now, I know that for some reason he seems to be very good friends with President Faure Gnassingbé. I don't know why.
And Alassane Ouattara.
And Alassane,
maybe it's a French connection.
Well, I think you put it succinctly, and I hear Nana Akufo-Addo is also seriously fluent in the language, so it's possibly the French connection. But I'm thinking that for a country like Togo, for instance, and also Cote d'Ivoire, why not? We should be able to use some of these diplomatic, you know, instruments such as sanctions, you know, economic sanctions, maybe diplomatic sanctions, to check countries like Togo in tandem with the heavyweight in the region. Nigeria, of course. I think these are some of the stuff we need to be doing, you know, diplomatically speaking, you know, in the geopolitical space, to keep, you know, stuff under control. Remember what happened with the Mali coup d'etat guys, you know. So I think you get my point. The 20 years interruption of, you see, the democracy, which saw the overthrow of Dr. Hila Liman, His Excellency, the President of Ghana. By the way, Kwame, and President Akufo-Addo, since he became president, he has never mentioned Dr. Hila Liman once. I don't know what Dr. Hilary Man has done against President Akufo-Addo. That President Akufo-Addo he should acknowledge the president, the former president of the Third Republic, who has been treated shabbily. All Ghanaians agree. What is wrong with President Akufo-Addo rehabilitating? No, it's not. Look. Let's be real here. What is wrong with President Akufo-Addo, honoring the memory of His Excellency, the President of Ghana in the Third Republic, Dr. Hilary Man? What is wrong with President Akufo-Addo rehabilitating his name? And why don't we even move his remains to Asumdue Park? After all, let me tell you something. President Hilary Man could have gone into the bush and fought back and come back to try to get his power, because he had the legal.
And fought who?
He would have fought the coup d'etat people, President Rawlings and co. Because President Hilary Man had the mandate.
I think that we are derailing from the project. But let me bring into the conversation Saka Salia. Saka, let's hear from you on this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kwame.
Thank you, Kwame.
When Hamza was speaking on the first topic,
it wasn't the topic.
Yeah, it was
an introduction.
He made certain
which you had an opportunity to also use, but you decided to rather praise Hadiahum.
Yeah, but you see, he made certain allusions or certain allegations, like the death of Ahmed Swaleh, and he attributed that one to Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And you would think that you can come here and sit here and talk that way and go on attended to or on rebuttal. I mean, I think that sometimes we should be responsible in some of the things that we say. We all know that the security apparatus or the security personnel will be voting today, and indeed the media also will be voting today. If you have any message for them, go with that message. But to say that Ahmed Swaleh died as if during the period of the NDC no journalist died, as if during the period of the NDC journalists were not treated in a very sordid manner, where they were put in a truck and was pushing around. We know of a Daily Graphic journalist who died out of the fact that they put him in a very wretched.
Who did that?
The NDC government in the Volta region,
when the government went and when?
Oh, in 2015.
The police or the government? I'm sure. I don't.
What police? I said the government.
How?
Because, look,
they just accuse someone of accepting responsibility.
I am telling you.
Indeed, I accept responsibility. Whatever I said, you see, but you should be very responsible.
You see, they gave them a very wretched vehicle, the media, who followed the president, and the vehicle had an accident. Died.
So that was the government. Who controls accidents?
Oh, but no.
So the government
why? You cannot just use anything because it
a brand new car can be involved in an accident. Oh, it
has to do with the core of the respect that you accord media people in this country. If you decide that you have to go and then rent, Standogbe and Co, they went to the market, rented a car that is not even movable, and they had to, vegetate on it.
What is your point here?
So I'm saying that they don't even respect the media in the first place.
But you see, he is referring to Ahmed Swaleh.
No,
Ahmed Swaleh's case is a novelty.
I'm even coming on that.
It's a novelty because this one, you had your member of parliament call him out, put his pictures on his platform, asked people to beat him when they found him.
No,
so we didn't see that. So this is
no. Please, this is exactitude is very important when you are making statement.
What did he say?
What he said, I'm not condoning what he said, but I'm just trying to quote exactly what he said.
No, quote it.
What he said was that he put his picture out and said that if he comes around within the premise, within the confines of his workplace, where the city, they should beat him. So he did not say that people should go and look for him and beat.
But out of that, somebody went to look for him and didn't even beat him.
But how would you know? Because look, it has not gone through court.
Because nobody knew.
Nobody knows the perpetrator.
Look, this
so you can hazard a guess.
I can agree.
You can hazard a guess, but
I can appreciate the political disadvantages that it may have for your political party. I can appreciate that, and I understand
why I'm saying that. I'm not
the truth is also that, the truth is also that this is a very emotional issue that I'm sure by now, if people are watching, they are even getting more upset.
But so let's just but it's also legal.
So let's just leave it here.
It's also a legal issue.
Let's leave it here.
You get my point. It's also a legal issue.
Let's leave it here.
Yeah,
so let's leave it here.
So let's be honest with the truth. The security people will vote and vote against Togo. No, I'm coming. They will vote and vote against the NDC. I have seen a very disrespectful statement coming from their national communication officer, Sami Jemfi, saying that the security people are in bed with the MPP and that their work is coterminous with that of Nana Addo Dankwa.
No, I think you are also quoting him out of context.
Out of what context?
We all listened to that. He said that there are some police officers who are in bed with this administration, and that if they don't discharge their duties professionally, they should know that their job is coterminous with that.
But he has no right to say those things. He has no right. He doesn't have any legal right
but your party,
to say that. No,
listen. Your party was right.
No, listen.
Bruce out
just listen. I mean, you are a lawyer. If somebody says that a police officer that has been appointed and given a duty to perform for the nation, and they are not supposed to be, a wing or partisans or a wing of a political party, but that doesn't mean that any political party can come and whimsically remove them.
But you whimsically
listen. Just because you feel in your brain, in your mind, you think that the person, is doing certain things untoward.
Chaka, do you know
that goes to disadvantage you, and therefore let me finish.
I'll let you land, my boy.
And therefore, the appointment of a security officer is coterminous with that of the president. Who told him that is how it works?
But you showed the way.
Showed who
you beat Nanka Bruce and dragged your party. When you went back,
who were the people who beat this?
Have you forgotten?
Who were the people?
But who were? So you should tell us. Because we saw videos. Nanka Bruce molested.
Molested by somebody.
Victim.
Or fought with somebody.
Seat of government.
Nanka Bruce fought with somebody.
Didn't fight. My brother, we saw the video. He was just being pushed like this. Like some child.
He was being pushed.
Oh, jeez.
So that demands the arrogant posture of Sami Jemfi to come out and say that they are going to sack policemen anytime the NPP.
Did he say he sacked?
I mean, let's let me use this opportunity
to greet somebody again,
to extend my condolence to the finance minister.
Oh,
he lost the father.
Oh, Kenneth Furata.
Yeah,
oh, that's sad.
He lost the father, Dr. Kwesi Jones Amakwata Ofori Atta.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, he was a former deputy finance minister himself.
That's sad.
And an MP of Begro.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's
in
sad.
1969 and 1979.
That's sad. That's sad.
Yeah. So Kwame,
I've lost my father, so I'm used to it.
Yes.
Very sad situation.
That's very sad. Yeah, but at least he's old enough. So
yes. With regard to what is happening in Togo,
yeah,
I mean, it's not anything that anybody will feel proud about. I mean, Togo, when it comes to democratic tenants, I think that they are lagging behind. What they are doing is a clear case of extrajudicial arrest, and it has no place in the democratic space in Togo. You see, by the fact that Togo, in terms of proximity, they are closer to us. I thought that by now they would have learned a lot.
At least,
but it looks as if, as much as they are closer to us, they are still giving us a lot of distance when it comes to their democratic principles. Because look, these are trump up charges that are just, that they are just flaunting on these people. How can you go and arrest this woman? The woman is not even contesting. She had ever been a presidential candidate in 2010.
It's crazy.
And then you say that, she has gone to visit
the opposition,
another opposition person, and that it was an attack on national security. I mean, how? That it is an attack on internal security. Just because somebody has gone to visit another person who had been arrested to solidarize with the person. And most so, this is a woman. And then you go and arrest such a person and you are molesting her and you think that people will come and sit here and support you. I think that ECOWAS should wake up. Such things do not have place. Let us not condone such nonsense in our body politics. I mean, just like what Kwame Nkrumah said when we gain independence, that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked up with the total liberation of Africa. The democratic principle or tenets of Ghana is also meaninless unless our neighbors, actually acquired a little bit of the democratic tenets that we have in this country.
Absolutely.
But it's like, I mean, the opposite is the case.
Yeah.
Where with reckless abandon, these people will just go and do anything. Somebody wants to perpetuate himself in power for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think that ever since Foreign Assembly took over from the father, he has never looked back. And he thinks that he can stay in there by, doing all manner of unthinkable things, arresting and then intimidating opponents just to stay in power. I don't think that it's something that we should condone.
Beautiful.
It must be condemned in all, with all certainty.
Beautiful. Hamza.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my boss.
Charlie, Saka, ordinarily I would have just zoomed into the Togo issue. But Kwame, with your indulgence, I think that sometimes it is important for us to set the record straight for the sake of our viewers and most importantly, our colleagues out there who desire nothing but the truth. You see, first of all, we are all aware that I think you asked a question as to whether the communications officer of the National Democratic Congress had that legal right to demand that in case there's a change of government, questionable officers within the Ghana Police Service should consider their tenure contemporaneous with that of the New Patriotic Party. I can answer you without any fear or favor that indeed every citizen of this country has that legal right. It is not just Sami Jemfi, the National Communications Officer, to demand or to say
talk nonsense.
That is not nonsense. Can you be patient and listen for the sake of our viewers? I can go on that. Please. You see, every person has that legal right. You may not be seized with that knowledge. You can be pardoned for that. But it is within the legal remit of every citizen of this country to caution any person mandated by the constitution of this country to perform a duty in the interest of this country and to a very large extent the citizens of this country, for every citizen to demand that these responsibilities assigned by our constitution and our laws must be carried out in tandem with this constitution, and for that matter our laws of this country. It is based on that legal principle and legal right that characters associated with it, with the New Patriotic Party, filed in a petition that resulted in the removal of Madam Charlotte Ose. Were they appointees of your government? Indeed, subsequently most of them became appointees of your government. But that is not to say that the constitution did not clothe them with that legal right to demand accountability. So it is based on that same legal requirement that the likes of Sami Jemfi can demand that officers within the Ghana Police Service and Ghana military.
Oh, Saka,
let's
allow some sanity on the show. Please, proceed.
I can interject better than you. We've been at this.
Saka, please.
Trust, I can do that.
But you can
exactly. I can do better than you. You've met me on other platforms. But you see, Kwame. So first of all, it is clearly not supported with any fact for you to conclude that he doesn't have that legal right. Secondly, the issue at stake, and I'm repeating it again, to our security officers. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, we all woke up to the unacceptable molestation that was carried out by national security officers against a military officer of the Republic of Ghana. And these people, these so-called national security hoodlums, were part of the president's security detail. and they meted out that unacceptable confrontation against a uniformed officer of this republic. And you see, Kwame, again, he's talking about respect for the media fraternity. It is under the same government that radio stations have been closed down for political reasons. People who were earning their daily bread, media men, who were earning their daily bread as a result of the work they were doing with these radio stations, are home today because of the treachery of the NPP government led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. As I speak with you, indeed, Manasseh Azure is on record to have expressed his discomfort as far as Nana Addo's presidency is concerned and what it means for media men engaged in investigative pieces of work, and how he was of the opinion that the John Dramani Mahama-led administration was far better than this administration in terms of how we've handled the media. And so I am telling you and the New Patriotic Party and cautioning and reminding our security officers out there that as they go to vote, it is not just about their individual interests. It borders on the security of this country, and it borders on the lives of many Ghanaians, and they must do so in a way that protects media men from this country, and their colleagues from that brutalization that we are seeing under the Nana Addo-led administration. And again, I think coming back to the Togo issue, Kwame, first of all, I'll tie the two. It is clearly unacceptable for the African continent to condone what is happening currently in Togo. And clearly, we all know that what is happening in Togo is nothing short of a display that the authorities perhaps would wish that we refer to as a democracy. But we are clearly aware that the Togo situation cannot be referred to a democratic system by any well-meaning Democrat all over the world. Indeed, there is the need for us as Africans to begin to demand accountability in places like Uganda, in places like Ethiopia, and of course in places like Togo, and to a very large extent, even Rwanda, where human rights issues have come up strongly lately.
Absolutely.
And so, clearly, what is happening now is condemnable. But then again, Ghana, like my colleagues have said, ordinarily should have been a shining example for the likes of Togo, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, and to a very large extent even Nigeria, where we still continue to have some pockets of electoral instability and violence in certain parts of the region. But Kwame, you know why it is difficult for these countries to look up to Ghana?
I need a copy of your book.
Sometimes beyond the systematic, or let me use the word, sometimes beyond the institutionalization of democracy in a country, there is the need for the country to demonstrate certain attributes that actually reflects respect for human rights, and to a very large extent that equally respects progress that actually will benefit that actually will benefit majority of the citizens of the country. But that is not the case in Ghana. And so, in as much as we would have loved to inspire other parts of the world, or to a very large extent other parts of Africa, our conduct clearly probably even puts them in a position for them to question our democratic path and to begin to wonder whether they would want to go on that same tangent as a country. And I just enumerated at the beginning of this show some of the challenges we faced. What is the use of democracy if media men mandated by law to do their work, in most cases, are gruesomely murdered, and security agencies up to date haven't been able to prosecute even an individual for the murder of the likes of Ahmed Swale? What would be the essence of democracy to Togo, or Ghana's democracy to Togo, if the likes of Manasseh Azure, in the midst of security, the Ghana Police Service, Ghana Military, National Bureau of Intelligence, now they want us to call it, with all these security apparatus, the likes of Manasseh Azure didn't feel safe in Ghana and had to be flown out of this country by an international organization, not the Republic of Ghana, for safety reasons. Don't you think the likes of Togo, the likes of Uganda, will begin to even question the whole democratic system that functions or that is believed to be functioning in some parts of this country?
Maybe our democracy is only predicated on the smooth transition of regimes.
Absolutely. And so it is difficult for you to say that they should look up to the likes of Ghana when in the conduct of our businesses there is everything wrong with the way we handle democratic processes in this country. Democracy is not just about queuing and electing leaders. After elections, we must still see democratic processes in place. But that is not what happens in this country, especially anytime we have the new patriotic party in power. You remember that when His Excellency, the late President John Evans Atta Mills, took over the reins of governance of this country and directed that municipal district chief executives should still remain in post. Even members of his own political party came strongly at him because he understood then, and even more important now, that democracy is a process.
About inclusivity.
You understand? And that it includes your ability to carry almost everybody along. Because at the end of the day, what matters is the Ghana dream, not the National Democratic Congress dream, not the New Patriotic Party dream, or not the CPP dream. It is the Ghana dream. And so, to a very large extent, we still have difficulties appreciating that basic fact. When it comes to democracy, how then do we suddenly, as a republic, ascribe to ourselves as gems of democracy when it comes to Africa? And we do so with confidence. I do not have that level of confidence.
Right.
And so, if we need to relook, or if we need to assess what is going on in Africa, there is a need for most democracies, especially the likes of Ghana, Nigeria, to come back to the table.
Right.
For us to determine ways to inspire many others out there who still have questions as to whether indeed democracy is the way to
It's
move.
interesting how you mentioned Nigeria in this conversation, because Nigeria itself is complicit in this matter, where the people feel, majority of them feel their will was subverted at the last elections. And so, I don't know how Africa will be able to address
Kwame, that is why I told you that it's systematic in the sense that, you see, clearly our systems are not working.
Absolutely.
Even in countries that we pretend to be democratic, we actually are not.
Undemocratic, yeah.
And so there's the need for us to accept that fact. If we don't accept that fact, Ghana will still live in that dream of being democratic. Nigeria is likely to live in that dream of being democratic.
Thank you.
When in actual sense we are not. And so if you do not correct your mistakes and actually position you in such a way to be an example to many other countries out there, how do you then bring that change as far as the African continent is concerned? And these are the questions we must begin to ask ourselves and come up with processes to ensure that we reflect the true tenets of democracy for most of our sister nations to actually emulate.
Thank you very much. If you just joined us, you're watching the Newspaper Review segment on Pan-African Television. The WhatsApp number is 0260846539. 0260846539. Let me remind you that we're also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Also, you do know that the election is just 6 days away, and so as part of our activities to fully cover events as it unfolds relative to the elections, we have brought back our election focus program, which airs every single day from Monday to Saturday, and the time for the weekday or the weekdays is between 7:30 to 9 p.m. every day, each day. And on Saturday is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on Pan-African Television. So you can, journey with us till the destination point where we elect a president to lead this nation for the next political year. Now, let me come back home and discuss some domestic issues here. PIAC blows alarm and says $169 million oil cash is missing. Now, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, which monitors the use of petroleum revenue, says it is unable to report on the programs and activities undertaken with an amount of $169.51 million disbursed to the annual budget funding amount, which is the ABFA, for the first quarter of 2020. And Hamza, I'm staying with you, so listen attentively. The ABFA is the portion of petroleum revenue used to support government's budget in its 2020 semi-annual report. The committee said it was also unable to provide an update on the status of unutilized and unaccounted for ABFA funds, which stood at 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. For this reason, Mr. Noble, chairman of PIAC, repeated his earlier call on Parliament to strengthen the committee's oversight mandate on the Ministry of Finance. Quote, "This is because the ministry's persistent failure, the fourth time, to provide half-year data on ABFA utilization is not only adversely affecting the work of the committee, but is also eroding gains in a fight for transparency and accountability in the management and use of Ghana's petroleum revenues for the benefit of citizens." The chairman said in the report. The report also disclosed that the cumulative indebtedness to Ghana National Gas Company continued to increase to $942.26 million. This, the report said, is as a result of the failure of Ghana National Gas Company's customers to honor their obligations. The Ghana Petroleum Fund reserves, according to the report, recorded a 24.1% reduction at the end of June 2020 compared with the same period of 2019. This was as a result of the lowered cap and subsequent withdrawals from the Ghana Stabilization Fund. Consequently, quote, "The GSF yield reduced by 68.08% from that of the same period of 2019, it added. Clearly, our inability to properly account to the good people of Ghana is becoming a problem. And our attempt to demand full accountability is becoming a facade. We are not deliberately, putting the feet of responsible government to the fire of accountability. Sir?
Without doubt, I think that I associate with your concern. And it is even more telling since the assumption of office by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And I say so not because I intend to do politics or the usual politics with it, but I say so because the facts simply support that conclusion, Kwame. You see, this is not the first time, and it has been stated clearly in the report, this is not the first time that the PIAC has raised concerns about the manner in which we handle the petroleum revenues of this country. Indeed, their voices even became louder in 2017. And that is why they make reference to the last 4 years. Largely because, apart from the questionable transactions that has characterized the petroleum revenues of this country since the assumption of office of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his cousin Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, but apart from that questionable transactions, there seemed to be a strategy on the part of the Finance Minister to equally deprive PIAC the revenues needed for it to actually do its work. Because if you give revenues needed to PIAC, they are fully aware that PIAC, being non-partisan, will deliver quality work in terms of their assessment and monitoring of the petroleum revenue and management of this country. And so, first of all, there's the need for us to demand that any available resources that must be given to PIAC for it to carry out its constitutional mandate must be done so in the hope that at least they discharge it according to the principles of probity and accountability, which clearly defines the whole act that brought about PIAC in the first place. Kwame, when it comes to issues of missing cash, it is synonymous with this current government. Just yesterday, we woke up to the revealing, or I should say the shocking revelation about the 52 billion Ghana cedis that the Auditor General is on record to have written to Ghana Commercial Bank to account for as a result of their inability to account for taxes collected in the system. And so, and 52 billion Ghana cedis is not mean an amount of money. It's about $10 billion. You see, and the strange thing is, these things are happening at a time we have the President of the Republic of Ghana appointing a finance minister who happens to be his cousin. And it was the reason why the National Democratic Congress from day one raised the alarm bells and said that, look, if you introduce nepotism into government, especially at the level of finance, you are likely to sacrifice accountability And at the end of the day, you are likely to jeopardize any serious march towards accountability in this country. And His Excellency the President disregarded that caution, and today, that is why we seem to be on daily basis discussing issues of missing funds in this country, because the finance minister himself is shady in terms of his transactions. The presidency himself is shady. And you see, Kwame, let us not deceive ourselves that we can make sense out of any of these revelations. The only way to make sense out of these revelations is simply to kick Nanado out of government. We can only rest our hopes on a new government to actually do an intense investigation as to how these monies eventually slip out of the consolidated fund, and hopefully even how we can institutionalize mechanisms to retrieve some of these amounts of money that we are told on daily basis cannot be accounted for. And I am telling you that we cannot demand that level of accountability from this government, largely because of even the current revelation of Martin Amidu. You remember that when His Excellency President Nanado Danko Akufo-Addo wanted or appointed Martin Amidu, he was full of praise for him, referred to him as being courageous, not corrupt, and an anti-corruption crusader. Today, Martin Alamisi Amidu told the whole nation about a week ago that he is of the opinion that His Excellency the President is actually the mother serpent of corruption, and that all along His Excellency the President has been pretending to be fighting corruption. And we saw it in the Ajepa deal, how His Excellency the President attempted to influence the special prosecutor, who led to his resignation. We have also read in his subsequent epistles how he believes that the whole gamut of the presidency is engaged on daily basis on corrupt transactions. So clearly, we simply at this moment in history cannot look up to any state institution to fight corruption in this country under Nanado. The only way to do that, if you really feel strong about the resources of this country and the need for us to use it for the benefit of the majority of people, then there is the need for us to demonstrate that fidelity to accountability by ensuring on the 7th of December that we take off His Excellency Nanado Danko Akufo-Addo and bring in His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who has demonstrated and has shown on record his commitment to investigating some of these issues that are making the rounds. You remember, Kwame, that about a month ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said on live TV that if granted power once more, one investigation he would actually preside over is the Ajepa deal and the PDS transaction. These are all vehicles that this government has used to siphon state resources. And so for me, for newspapers to still carry out such stories with the hope that something can be done by the Nanado-led administration is quite fascinating, because we have reached a stage where we are expected not to expect any iota of accountability from Nanado and his family. And the interesting thing is that it is not just the National Democratic Congress that is crying. It is not the CPP that have issues with accountability as far as this government is concerned. Even leading members of the New Patriotic Party have concerns. Even ministers of state have concerns about the way His Excellency Nanado Danko Akufo-Addo and his family association seem to be leading this country. Indeed, if you are not related to His Excellency the President and you are even a sitting minister of state, allocation of resources to your ministry for certain transactions to go on is deliberately drilled. You only have resources being released to certain sector ministers only when you see that His Excellency the President or any of his cousins seem to be interested in some of these facilities. So for instance, in the Ministry of Roads and Highways, if the occupant happens not to be an associate or a family member of the president, he is likely to be deprived of funds to operate. The only time you see funds going out there is when the cousin, Ken Oforiata or Gabriel Tredako, simply has a business interest that runs through that ministry. That is the only time you see them under the give me system releasing money to that sector ministry to work. So clearly,
let's leave it. I'll come back
to conclude, Kwame. You see, we are tired of having to wake up on daily basis, pondering over issues of accountability and how this government has failed in that regard. The only way this country can bring an end to that unfortunate menace is simply for us to rally around each other and ensure that, look, we gave you that power. We have resolved that we are taking away that power for some semblance of accountability to be re-injected into the system through the National Democratic Congress. And I can assure you that we've done it even with our own people, and there's every commitment on the part of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to do it once more.
Thank you, Hamza Suhini. Let me come to you, Soprano Sapon Sylvester. I can see Saka busily making his notes, and definitely he will rebut a few of the things that were put forward by Hamza Suhini. It's instructive to remind the viewers that the WhatsApp number is still active, 0260846539. Let me now come to you, Soprano, listen to you, and then we'll go to Saka on the subject matter.
And just by the way, Saka, did you say that the Minister of Finance lost his daddy? Is that Jones Oforiatta?
Yes.
Wow, because you see, Kwame, in the book Third World to First World by One Touch, written by engineer Robert Wood, Ghana's crusading engineer, as the principal author, our co-author. We capture a riveting story involving Dr. Jones Oforiatta, the former minister. Jones Oforiatta. Okay, former minister, deputy minister of finance and economic planning.
Yes,
that was the name of the ministry at the time.
GH Mensah was the finance minister.
Precisely, and it has to do, you see, with the price of cocoa in 1972, which was about $591 per ton. Okay, and which compelled the Buzia government to almost double and devalue the currency by about 100%. So 1 cedi almost became 2 cedis. Okay, and the repercussions of that created an opening for Ignatius Kutu Echampon, general, to do the coup, because it made Dr. Buzia very unpopular. Although J.H. Mensah had repeatedly warned Dr. Buzia to be careful about losing political capital in the event he depreciated the currency in the way he did. Just briefly, this is very, very important historically. There were some of the people involved that we captured in our research included E.N. Omabo, Chairman, Economic Committee, National Liberation Council, the coup d'etat peoples. They were working with Dr. Buzia. And also Dr. Gustav Papanek, economist from the Harvard Development Advisory Service, who are advising Dr. Buzia and forced him to make those decisions. There was also John Odlin Smee of Cambridge University, an advisor to the Prime Minister, and one J.H. Frimpong, economist and governor of the Bank of Ghana. There was also, briefly, I'm just ending, of course, you have Dr. Buzia and J.H. Mensah, and then finally there's this remarkable woman who was a part of Ghana, been a part of Ghana's economic efforts for a long time, Mary Chineri Hesse. These are patriots that we need to mention, and I just wanted to say that Dr. Jones Oforiatta is a patriot, and we in the Convention People's Party, we recognize that. That's why we've even written about him in this our lovely book, authored by the principal author, Dr. Engineer Robert Wood, Ghana's crusading engineer. Kwame, thank you for the opportunity. And coming down, substantive matter at hand, the PIAC blows alarm, and says $169 million oil cash missing. Very alarming story, indeed. And when I heard, please, what was Hamza? Yeah, when I listened to Hamza, I was touched at, the passion with which Hamza addressed and tackled the subject matter was very, very fiery indeed, Kwame. I was, just captivated listening to Hamza, and then, looking at where Hamza is coming from, politically speaking. And then I looked and I said, oh, okay, he's talking about the NDC. And I felt a certain dislocation between the passionate delivery and the subject matter upon which he harped upon, okay, and then the record of the NDC as I know it. Because if I was not a Ghanaian, and if I was not living in this country, and if I was not being politically aware and paying attention, I would have thought that the NDC was this party of nice angels that have no corruption in their system, that have not been involved in Airbus that have not been involved in, you give Hinehini and Atiwa Forest to your brother to do bauxite alone, and all such family and friends, businesses and attitudes. If you listened to Hamza and the way he was talking about corruption, you might for a minute forget that the former president, President John Mahama, was accused of receiving a very posh, lovely Ford Explorer, was it? Yeah. Ford Explorer, the higher brand, the Ford Expedition. You forget about, so I was surprised. You see, Ghanaians, we must be real with ourselves. You understand? When I listened to Hamza criticize the MPP government of Nana Akufo-Addo, I realized that it was more of the same. This is what President John Mahama has been advising Ghanaians against. That don't compare Ghana's development by comparing, do not hinge Ghana's development to a comparison of the record of the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. The former president of Ghana, His Excellency, President John Mahama, he said any comparison between the record of the NPP and the record of the NDC is an exercise in mediocrity. You understand? So what we are saying here, get the opportunity you talk. You see, so you come and quote it properly. When the president, the former president of Ghana, is advising Ghanaians that don't take his own party seriously, or the opposition Nana Akufo-Addo type party seriously, and then somebody who is working for him comes out of the water to say otherwise, I don't get it. I just want to appeal to my fellow Ghanaians, especially the youth of this country. Look at your lives over the past several years. You understand? Look at the corruption that is going on. Recognize, remember, take note that if you are not related to these power blocks, you understand, that you are not getting some of the goodies. Have you gotten some goodies since Nana Akufo-Addo came to power? How many members of your family actually have a job? How many of them have lost jobs? You understand? How many of them have had their businesses destroyed because Nana Akufo-Addo took only people's money by force, and vulnerable Ghanaians seized their money in the bank? And do not forget that President Mahama, when he was in power, he also presided over Danso that devastated the economy. So between President Mahama and President Akufo-Addo, there's really no choice. You understand? If you must vote for President Mahama or President Akufo-Addo, then I want to suggest to you as a Ghanaian voter to take a risk with Ivor Green Street. It cannot be worse than President Mahama or President Akufo-Addo. Trust me. I mean, do you really think that Ivor Green Street can do worse than President Akufo-Addo, what he's doing right now? Or President Mahama's tenure, for that matter. You understand? So when the NDC representatives come and sit here and talk about the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo is good, we in the Convention People's Party, the glorious CPP, want to remind them that we know who they are. They and President Akufo-Addo, President Mahama and President Akufo-Addo, they are birds of the same feather. They sleep in the same bed. Do not for an instant think that they are enemies. They love each other and chill sometimes.
The subject matter for
is the oil thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I'm getting.
I think that we need to discuss that particular.
Please, I'm getting to it.
I can appreciate.
Okay, I'm getting there.
Let's because of time.
But of course, Kwame, I appreciate. So anyway, here we are with a situation whereby so much money is being lost to the Ghanaian taxpayer. You understand? And Kwame, if I'm not mistaken, and I need some help here if I'm mistaken, I think we're getting about 13% of the oil revenues.
Yeah.
You see, so here we are getting only 13% of our oil revenues. I want to juxtapose that, Kwame, against Cote d'Ivoire. For instance, you know that not too long ago we had a legal tiff with them, in a manner of speaking, and I think Ms. Gloria Ekufu, Attorney General, was able to win the case for Ghana
together with Marietta Brew.
Yes, fantastic. Our ladies in law are just too much, and Kwame. But the point is this: Cote d'Ivoire has refused to mine their oil until they have trained the human resource that can handle it indigenously. You understand? Incidentally, Kwame, if you go into our oil fields and the oil industry in Ghana, apart from the downstream marketing, where you have adequate Ghanaian representation, upstream it is Filipinos and Arabs and Brazilians and other people who are taking these jobs, which are incidentally, Kwame, are very, very good jobs. They are very good jobs indeed.
All right.
So just
let me ask you a question.
But of course,
so I mean, you're seeking to justify the fact that $169 million is missing because you think, in your estimation, that the NDC has no right questioning why the money is missing because they are birds of the same feathers. No. What you're seeking to do, because when I posed the question to you, and I wanted you to respond to that, I wanted you to respond to the subject matter for our conversation. But it appears that you were strutting in areas which was not incidental to the conversation.
I disagree, and I can prove otherwise.
Well, because you were only comparing what Hamza said.
Yes.
You know,
you see, we're having a panel discussion.
Absolutely, no, and you can make reference.
Sure. So
it appears to me that in making references, what you sought to do was to make the point that Hamza does not have any right, so to speak, in responding to these matters because to you, Hamza's party is not different from the NPP. You know, that is what you sought to do. So, is it a justification? No. You subscribe to what has been found out by PIAC in their investigation.
No. Kwame, you take note that please. I was reacting. You see, Hamza did not only talk about oil and corruption with regards to oil. He, involved the administration of the current President Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, okay, and sought to portray that the entire administration is really just corrupt. You understand? He talked about relatives and stuff like that. And I felt it was necessary to juxtapose the MPP's massive corruption, which is self-evident.
Yeah, but if you're talking about foreign affairs, for instance, what would be the justification to say that NDC had a lot of, President Mahama had a lot of his friends in government? There's no real justification. The only justification that you would seek to advance will be the fact that, and you said, him box that to
that's actually,
but Ibrahim Mahama has always been a businessman.
Sure.
Right from Kufuor's time till his brothers, and even till now.
Sure.
He's still bidding for.
But he has also been the
hold on. If you're talking about family and friends business.
Sure.
People who are actively involved in the governance process, you cannot compare the two political parties.
Kwame, I think that your opinion is appreciated. You understand?
It's not an opinion, it's a statement of fact.
No. 1 moment. One statement of fact. It isn't.
Mahama, you see, let's speak to the facts. Ibrahim Mahama was not appointed.
Listen, this is what President Mahama was talking about when he said a comparison between
in what way?
And NDC is an exercise. Please, Hamza. Let me make my point. Kwame, and if I may just land, and this is precisely the reference I was talking about. Kwame and Hamza, please. This is what President Mahama keeps saying, that let's not compare these two. Kwame, I'm not saying that President Mahama's administration operated the family and friends industry to the degree Nana Akufo-Addo is doing, but there was a semblance of it. By the way, the semblance I'm talking about is no, it's not. Bawa, there's Bawa who was in.
There's Bawa.
Yes.
It's a distant cousin.
But it's still a cousin. But has a appointee. Sure. You want me to give you the names of appointees? Hold on, let me defend myself. That's what I'm saying to the president.
Hold on. Let me interrogate the issues.
And that's what I'm saying, that the NPP and Nana Akufo-Addo has elevated the family and friends in politics industry to an unprecedented height. Point is that.
It makes it very difficult for this administration because of what it said when it was in the position.
Sure.
So it is very surprising. One would have thought that Nana Akufo-Addo would not even appoint any of his family members into government.
He set a terrible precedent.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm a land, Kwame, and if the family and friends industrial complex continues to grow, as I expect it to grow, even under assuming President Akufo and Mahama wins, you see, what is going to happen is that what I've seen in the politics of Ghana is that MPP comes to do it, MBC comes and refines it. So if the MBC comes, the family and friends industrial complex will, be hydra-headed, and that is why we are appealing. No. So that's why we are appealing.
It's a mere conjecture.
Okay, fine. But it's not backed by evidence. But Kwame, we are doing analysis here. You see, but there's a trajectory, though. There's a trajectory.
See, there's a trajectory. JJ Rawlings, he never had any of his family members in government.
Thank God.
Kufuor had his brother.
But they said Victor Boru was his cousin, though.
No family.
And this.
You see, but the point is, Kufuor had his blood brother. And I can appreciate the Minister for Defense. I mean, it wasn't Interior or Defense, one of them. Defense. I can appreciate that. Hey, who else to best? But
Kwame Nkrumah didn't even have a.
You see, so that's the whole point I'm making.
So if I could just finish
the refinement that you're referring to, that's not. It's not supported by available facts.
Kwame, I stand to dispute, but just for the, just for the.
I need to go to.
Sure, and I'm just finishing. You see, Kwame, bear with me that this is the political season. You understand? Next week we are going to have an election. I personally have a meeting. Kwame, I have a meeting with President Akufo-Addo. I thought I should mention it to you on the ballot. Inside the ballot box next week. Kwame, so I'm meeting President Akufo-Addo in the ballot box, me and him, one-on-one. No bodyguard. And that's why I'm saying that it's going to be bloody on Monday for President Akufo-Addo at the ballot box. You understand? Because I believe that Ghanaians have come to the conclusion, especially the youth, those of you who live in kiosk, etc., those of you who can't get jobs,
thank you. Let me come
that the CPA is the way forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kwame, thank you very much. I think that the problems with PIAC, accountability of the oil receipts or oil revenue did not start today. Indeed, since 2011, when we started getting oil, that problem had always existed. Hamza was talking as if the problem just started under the Danso Akufo-Addo regime. Indeed, when this particular PIAC was actually formed for good 3 years, they did not even have an office of their own under the Mahama administration. They did not even have office of their own. They were serving under a rented office, not a rented office, an office given to them by a philanthropist. Oh yes, I'm telling you. Oh,
make your point.
Somebody donated his house for them, and they were not given the needed funds that was needed to run even the office. It happened, and I was part of the multi stakeholders forum that we did to look at the problems that confront PIAC in 2014, and indeed all these things surfaced. And you are sitting here today and talking as if today, as we are speaking, they have a multi-purpose office. They are not lacking any funds. Maybe if they are lacking, they've gotten something that they can work with and all that. I mean, things are better than it used to be. You understand? We all know the difficulty that it comes in its wake when it comes to accounting for oil revenue. And like I said, it will look as if we are here to do equalization, but because Hamza's already stopped and he created that impression as if something untoward is happening, corruption is being commissioned, and that the world is coming to an end because somebody in his newspaper just put it 169 million oil cash missing. The first time this particular topic came, I challenged this particular headlines. You cannot say that it is missing.
Is the inside
newspaper. You see,
somebody.
You cannot say that oil receipt is missing. Oil 165 million, 69 million.
Unaccounted for.
Very good. These are some of the, unaccounted for is the best word to use. Or yet to be accounted for.
Semantics, right?
Yet to be accounted for.
But it's time for.
You see, I'm coming.
It's not available.
That is the reason why. I remember my good friend Dr. Mantio, when he was a PIAC chairman. We had a lot of meetings together.
Of course.
I remember at a point under the NDC government, they use the oil receipt, the budget that is the ABFA was allocated to. You know, the ABFA, four priority areas that every government in your budget you have to indicate where you are going to do the spending of the ABFA. The NDC government under Setepe actually indicated that they had used the ABFA to do certain projects in the 3 northern regions. When PIAC visited those places after 3 years, after 4 years, nothing of sort actually happened. And they actually visited places like Duru Dam, which was allocated about 58,000 Ghana cedis. The Duru Dam was there, no work had been done on it, just for rehabilitation of a dam. Nothing whatsoever had happened. They actually also visited Nakore in the Upper West region, the West Central. When they went there, nothing. The money that they actually indicated under the NDC that they are using to do the Nakore Dam, nothing had happened. For 4 good years. They visited Farikaya Islamic School in Tamale. The work that they said they use the ABFA money to do, nothing had happened. And then you come and sit here, and you remember even the ABFA money. You remember the bus branded. It was this same oil money that they used to do that sort of job. Corruption under the NDC using our oil receipt, and then you know a product of that regime, of that inglorious regime under John Dramani Mahama will come and sit here and want to portray a situation where somebody just said that the finance minister is yet to account for certain oil receipts. I know that this has been a problem. Oil receipt accounting has been a problem for all of us, especially the finance, the Management Act 815. It has always been a problem. So, like the last time this matter came, the finance minister himself came out to say that okay, they are still reconciling, you know, those figures, trying to get all those things and put them together. But PIAC also need, as part of their mandate, they have to do twice in a year publications, and so they have to, by necessity, come at a certain date, you know, to publish their report. And when at the time that they are publishing their oil report, if the receipts are not ready, I mean, what they can do is to say that this particular, you know, a project is yet to be accounted for, but to put it in a newspaper and create the impression as if somebody is dissipating, or somebody is plagiarizing, or somebody is stealing money from the coffers of the oil, you know, revenue. I think that is completely out of place, and we should not use such headlines and create the avenue for people to come and sit here and bring all manner of things and say all manner of unverifiable lies and fabrications. To extend that family and friends and all those things. Where is it coming from? We all know that Ghana under the Danso Akufo-Addo is strategically, you know, better in terms of fight against corruption than the Dramani Mahama regime by far, because the two political parties, one abhors corruption, you know, with passion, and another one is in himself is a corrupt individual. By evidence of what we have seen of the two in the past. So, if adherent of John Dramani Mahama will come and sit here and create the impression that the Danso Akufo-Addo government, and for that matter, Nanado himself is corrupt, I think that the good people of this country are the people who have witnessed the two leaders. And for me, in terms of integrity, when it comes to holding the public exchequer as strong as it is today, I mean, Nanado by far is a person that I will entrust, you know, with my resources to keep it than to give it to John Dramani Mahama. For me, this is an issue. It's a problem that we have all confronted we have confronted this thing from the very word go when a PIAC was established. The finance minister had to deal with people because these are contracts that are given to people. It takes time for it to, you know, be done. And by the time that the contract has come to fruition, maybe the report would have also come out. Let's not create impression somebody is corrupt because we are going to election in less than 1 week. Every topic that comes, we have to vilify a political opponent of this political opponent that we are talking about. Whether you like or loathe him, you cannot take away from him that in terms of integrity, in terms of the fact that he is a better manager of the economy than John Dramani Mahama, in terms of the fact that he can hold the public exchequer better than John Dramani Mahama. I mean, it's a fact that you cannot run away from. After our oil, we all know, I mean, what the NDC did with our oil receipt, and indeed, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has made sure that, because this oil resources is a depleted one. It's a resources that can be depleted.
Okay. Yep.
And therefore, we have always said that we need to make maximum use of the oil resources. And that's the reason why we decided that the free SHS has to benefit every Ghanaian, irrespective of wherever you come from. You have to be part of, the beneficiary of the oil receipt. And that's exactly what Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is doing.
All right.
Instead of somebody using the oil receipt, oil revenue, to go and do bus branding, put some, black and white pictures of former head of states and put yours in a manner that is so visible so that you can use that one to win elections. I mean, those days are over.
Okay.
Let us move forward. When these things come, when headlines like this come, let us all interrogate
them. Okay.
and then ask that the right thing be done. But let's not use the headline to then go, lambasting political opponents.
Okay. You want to stay? You want us to stay on this, or
let's go so that you can rebut time to come.
You can rebut. So I'll give you 1 minute to rebut, but you have to also touch on the other topic. Hold on. Let me introduce that topic to you, which has to do with Martin Amidu exploding Akufo-Addo, his mother's serpent of corruption.
No, the second, third one, the NDC
will win. No, I'll come to that when I have the time.
But who wrote that?
From what you said, do you think corruption will play a very important role in this year's election? So you discussed that, and also
Before that, first of all, I think that it is important for us to be fair to the facts. My brother on the other side made references to the fact that some projects were identified by PIAC as being ghost projects, even though monies were allocated. Indeed, that was never the case.
Okay.
And subsequently, PIAC even came to acknowledge that it was not the case. And I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
In every budget, you go to Parliament with your projected revenue targets. It doesn't mean that that is what you are going to get. So somewhere in 2014, the projected revenue target that we anticipated from the oil industry was about 1.4 billion. In fact, in 2017, their own cousin finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, indicated in the 2017 budget he presented to Parliament that the 1.4 billion target we anticipated from oil revenues, we couldn't meet that 1.4 billion, and we only got 711 million Ghana cedis or so. So we fell short of about 49.5% of the revenue target for 2014. And so the budgets that these projects were tied to was with the 1.4 billion that we anticipated. And because we could not realize that amount of money, we were forced to cut down in terms of the budgets or projects we were supposed to do with the 1.4 billion. And subsequently, PIAC acknowledged that fact. That is what transparency does. Again, PIAC is on record to have spoken publicly about the attention His Excellency John Dramani Mahama gave them as sitting president, and even the access they had to him in most of the challenges they had. They have not said that about this current government and the president, apart from the numerous complaints about the challenges they continue to have and the unwillingness of the government to partner them to actually discharge the mandate that they have been given under the laws of this country. And to now come to the issue of Martin Amidu. Kwame, it was on the basis of this same issue of corruption that I intimated when we were discussing the missing $169 million oil cash. It's not small money, and I believe you know that as a matter of fact, that corruption has become synonymous to the Nana Addo-led administration. We can begin to pretend as much as we want as members of his political party, but it is no more fashionable for us to wake up on a daily basis only to be greeted with inhumane and indecent acquisition and dissipation of public resources, either under the pretext of AJAPA or PDS. It is clearly unacceptable. Or missing cash under the oil sector. And Kwame,
$10 billion.
when Martin Amidou, when you say he exploded, remember again what we told you about Martin Amidou as a party. When they appointed him, the National Democratic Congress was directed by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama to give him the full support that he needs to perform his job. Indeed, the NPP and Nanado were under the mistaken belief that we feared Martin Amidou as a political party, and indeed that Martin Amidou was coming to expose the corrupt nature of the National Democratic Congress. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the party, we were convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that there was no iota of corruption that could be leveled against either His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as an individual or Professor J. Nano Opoku-Juman as running mate to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We knew at the end of the day, if subjected to the test of corruption, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and their cousin current finance minister would be found wanting, and that is what is happening currently. You see, Martin Amidou in his expose indicates that since his engagement with democratic practices in this country, and even preceding the Fourth Republic, never has he ever seen corruption at such indecent heights. That is a verdict of Martin Amidou. This is not the verdict of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. This is not the verdict of the National Democratic Congress. This is the verdict of a person Nana Danko Akufo-Addo himself described as courageous and an inspiration when it comes to the fight against corruption, and a principled patriot of the Republic of this country. And indeed, it is that same person who has made that damning verdict. It is that same person who has passed that damning verdict on the conduct of His Excellency the President. And he didn't end there. He concluded that based on what he has seen from associates of the Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta, in the likes of Calvin Oforiatta, the conduct of the Chief of Staff around His Excellency the President, the conduct of some appointees of this government, he is convinced that indeed Nana Danko Akufo-Addo only pretended to be fighting corruption, but in actual sense, whatever was going on within the government that had corruption undertones had the full blessing of Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. And you can see the evidence in the AJAPA report. Because even in that report, Martin Amidou had cause to question why His Excellency the President will give or will grant executive approval to a transaction that had no law. If not induced by corruption, what would push His Excellency the President, who is a trained lawyer, to give executive approval on the basis of a law that is non-existent? And Martin Amidou concluded that the only reasonable conclusion would have been that the President indeed was tacitly endorsing that corruption agenda under the guise of AJAPA. And remember, this is not the first time His Excellency the President has been caught pants down, engaged in such questionable executive approvals. That was what led to the removal of the Energy Minister. When we unleashed fire on the New Patriotic Party and the government and questioned their handling of, again, this was the energy resources of this country and the kind of questionable deals they were going into, His Excellency the President, when he realized the heat was on, decided to sacrifice the then Energy Minister, and the excuse he gave was that, oh, what was the word? That he was misled in granting that executive approval. That was what His Excellency the President said. And indeed, it was corroborated by your God, the young man you refer to, the old man you people refer to as God, Gabriel Chodako. He confirmed it.
Refer to him as God.
But that's how you call him. You call him the God, the shortage. That's the shortage of Gabriel Chodako. So, but that's what I'm saying. You refer to him as the God.
Nobody refers to him as God.
And they treat him as such, as the God.
To him as God.
Oh, but that's what that is. That's how you
acronym of his name.
But I haven't said it's not an acronym of his name. My brother, I've not said that that's not an acronym. But you see, to the substantive issue.
Yeah.
So, Kwame, when we sit around this table, it is only an iota of hypocrisy that would lead one to conclude that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is committed to the fight against corruption. Indeed, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I have had pains to state this on the same platform, that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, as sitting president, had to prosecute appointees of his government when media men like Manasseh came out with findings, questionable conduct of these appointees. As we see today, the likes of Honorable Abuga Pele is serving his sentence because he was found guilty by the law courts of this country. The national security, a former national service boss, is before the law courts of this country. This is leadership. This is commitment to the fight against corruption. And I'm pretty much convinced, as I speak with you, that today, given the opportunity, Martin Alamisi Amidu would be quick in terms of comparison between Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Martin Alamisi Amidu would be quick in his conclusion that indeed His Excellency John Dramani Mahama stands tall and honest when it comes to the fight against corruption.
Okay.
And you see, the unfortunate thing about this country is the sudden silence that has characterized our discourse, either from the religious front or the so-called chieftaincy institutions. In the past, what we are witnessing under this current government, we never had even a quarter of that under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. But on daily basis, we marshaled efforts under the guise of protecting the dignity of this country and protecting our resources, and took President Mahama to the cleanest. His Excellency President Mahama did not use those accusations or did not take those accusations personal. Indeed, he received those accusations with that warmth and humility and demonstrated commitment to reassuring the nation that his government was doing its best in the circumstances in the fight against corruption. Remember, he made references to the bus brand. It didn't take more than a week for His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, even before the committee came out with its findings, to ask the then Transport Minister, Honorable Jifar Atiba, to step aside for investigations to continue. That is leadership. Today, the special prosecutor that we made so much noise about has indicted your sitting finance minister, who is a cousin to you, and the man is still at post. And you call that commitment to the fight against corruption. And so I have said it on countless occasions. I do not need Martin Amidu to tell me that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the mother serpent of corruption. Indeed, the entire political history of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is built on attributes that he is directly opposed to. When they tell you that he's a human rights lawyer, you flip it to the other side and you are given the shock awakening of your life that indeed Nana Addo has no respect for fundamental human rights. When they tell you that he's a patient man, you know that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is a vindictive leader. When they tell you that he's not corrupt, you know that he's the mother serpent of corruption. When they tell you that he's intelligent, you are convinced within your heart and every fiber that functions in you, in your system, that he's the most incompetent leader ever to have ascended the presidency.
Thank you.
And I say so because even up to date, if you ask His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to engage His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on any sector of the Ghanaian economy, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will be found wanting. It is the same reason why he has decided to run away from the debate. And I can assure you that beyond the issues of demand and supply, Nana Addo lacks appreciation of basic economic principles, and so even lacks the technical know-how to be able to direct his cousin minister when he's going wrong, to be able to direct or contribute meaningfully to the economic discussions, even at cabinet. And this is the man who is in charge of our.
Thank you very, very, very much. Saka, you wanted to come to you before him? I'll let you land so that you marry both.
So let me. First of all,
Saka is in the house.
I mean, because some of the things that he's talking about, I mean, a big belief, because for you to say John Dramani Mahama is competent. Actually, I mean, it takes somebody who is politically naive.
Respectfully.
It takes somebody who is politically naive to come to that conclusion that John Dramani Mahama is competent, because his incompetency is legendary. Oh, when you were talking, I was just watching you. His incompetence is legendary in this country. John Dramani Mahama. And for you to come and sit here and say that John Dramani Mahama is competent, when the consequence of his incompetence were all over. He could not manage the economy well to the extent that he himself had admitted that the meat has come to the bone. He actually galvanized everybody to go to Senchi, including Ekwadanko and Co., that we should go there and then get homegrown policy and send them to the IMF. When we took them to the IMF, he himself went to the IMF and admitted that we had lost every integrity that we have. And we were coming to the IMF for policy credibility. And such a person, you sit here and say that he is competent. No problem. I think that you have a different definition for competence. And Ghanaian people knew that he was highly incompetent, and that was the reason why he allowed us to swim in Danso for almost 5 years. Now we can rely
for almost 5 years.
Yeah, almost 5 years.
That's not true.
Yes, because he was in government for 4.5 years.
That's not true.
He was in government for 4.5 years. You understand?
Yeah.
He also talked about debates. That Nanado cannot appreciate, he cannot debate John Dramani, but that's the reason why he's running away. Let me tell you, John Dramani Mahama in 2016 actually ran away from debating Nanado. He ran with his a tail in between his legs.
When was this?
In 2016, when the IEA.
I think he explained.
Actually,
No, the NDC explained why.
It doesn't matter.
They explained why. At the time,
people who always because if you refuse the first one, the most credible one, you don't expect anybody to organize. Master, I said the most credible one. The IEA debate.
One was organized by
because we have the traditional organizers.
Yeah.
We have traditional organizers of IEA debates. And that was the one the NDC and John Dramani Mahama flatly refused to appear. And today you are saying that Nanado, you see, let me tell you, because we all know that John Dramani Mahama, because of lack of credibility, want to leverage on Nanado credibility on the same platform so that he can send his message. If you have message, if you think that, going to the public to tell them that you are coming to build mortuaries is what will salvage you, go ahead and do it. If you think that legalizing Okada is what will actually give you power, go ahead. Don't expect Nanado to be on the same platform with you. Nanado would not descend that low. What? Yes.
He's so
because this man, not on that event. Because listen. Please. Let me finish. Because I'm saying that this man has lost his credibility. And he wants to leverage on somebody's credibility on the same platform so that he can be heard. And that is what I'm talking about. You see, it is good for us to mention that when we talk of corruption, never in the annals of this country has a vice president or a president descended so low to the lowest of ebbs, to the extent that you went and took Ford expedition from Jibril Kanazua from Burkina Faso and went ahead and registered the vehicle in your name.
Correct. Oh, that's not true.
Oh, please.
That's not true.
Please, I'm coming. You see, what's your problem?
It's a pool of
what's your problem? What's your problem? What is your problem?
In our attempt, hold on. Yes, I know.
You go and take your bribe expedition. You go and take your bribe. You go and take. Oh, please. In our attempt
to do propaganda, hold on, respectfully. No, Hamza, respectfully. Hamza, respectfully.
Let me remind you first before. This is 2016 fundraising that somebody came to present.
Saka.
Why are you lying?
In our attempt to
Kwame, let me
do propaganda.
Nobody is doing propaganda. Who is doing propaganda?
Propaganda in itself.
Who is doing propaganda?
But let's be truthful.
When he was talking here, you were just watching.
No. If he stated non-factual, I would have pointed it out.
When he said Nanado was incompetent, you thought that it was.
But you have also stated Mahama is incompetent. I'm not questioning you.
So no problem. Yeah. So I'm saying that John Dramani Mahama took Ford expedition. He cannot deny that. He himself, as Shraj, he did not. Please. You see, when you do this interjection, needless rude interjections, I would do the same to you. But I say that, see, they want to do some equalization, which is not actually happening. Because they say, oh, Nana is going to take money and all this. The full footage is here. In 2016, when he was not even president, when he was a presidential candidate, 2 people came to donate T-shirts and 40,000 Ghana cedis to him, and it was in the full glare of everybody. Then the NDC people are saying that, oh, he too took 40,000. I mean, what is so disgraceful about this? I mean, let's stop that. But I'm saying that John Dramani Mahama, in a secret location, actually took Ford Expedition, took it, used it, and when the Ford was tired, then he dumped it. When he was going, then he dumped it in the Flazer house. When he was caught pants down, he said, oh, but I use it and I dump it. We don't need it. We don't need it. Go and take your thing and go away. Ghana don't need that Ford. So if you have gone, Ghana don't need. No, I mean, now look at this. Look at this. They think that he's doing equalization. They think that is it. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Let him laugh.
Please. Oh, I'm not even landing. I'm going. Oh, please.
When the nation,
Kwame, don't be doing this. Don't be doing this.
Let us go to him by a friend.
Hold on, yeah.
Nobody is listening.
Hold on, Saka, go.
So I'm saying, in terms of credibility, in terms of corruption, nobody can beat John Dramani Mahama to it. Apart from that, you remember, even his own president, Professor Mills, actually instituted a probe against him that he should investigate John Dramani Mahama on the embryo issue. I mean, people, William Amwa, who was the then interior minister, was the chairman of that committee. And one other member was George Amwa.
And what was the outcome?
And Brigadier Aloti.
And what happened to
These were the members that were supposed to. I'm saying, investigate John Dramani Mahama on the embryo matter. Oh, please. I mean, this is not falsehood. These are facts. And I've mentioned.
You know the mandate.
Oh, please.
You think it was an investigation?
Oh, can't you?
You think that was an investigation?
Talk to him. No, talk to him. Talk to him. When he was here and there was making all manner of allegations.
So you also want to make an
allegation? No, these are not allegations. These are facts. These are facts. You understand?
This is the PI machinery you use in 2016.
These are facts. And I'm mentioning names of the people who were constituted.
But the committee was not mandated to investigate for
They were mandated to investigate him on the embryo matter.
Investigate him, his person.
Because he was the one in charge
Saka.
He led the charge.
It was a transaction that we were supposed to investigate into, and not the person.
Yeah, because he was the one. Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, Kwame, is he?
Oh, hold on.
I don't understand why me. Anytime I want to talk, you see, then all manner of interjections.
Go ahead.
I'm saying that the people whose name I've been mentioning here, they are not dead. They are around. We have been mentioning their names as the committee members, and none of them has ever come out to say that what we are saying is not true. So you can't sit here and just flip your hands and say that it's not true. This is the true fact. We're also saying, you see, you are here thinking that Amadou was a Martin Amidu is a saint, and whatever that he say, is sacrosanct and cannot be challenged. The same people, you even said that when Martin Amidu was appointed, that John Dramani Mahama actually said that you people should support him. So are you saying that Ayariga defied John Dramani Mahama's order when he took the special prosecutor to court and says that the special prosecutor, by dint of the fact that he is over age, cannot function as a special prosecutor? So are you saying John Ayariga actually defied John Dramani Mahama's order? So it is not true. So okay. It is not true. Also, you talk about Jepa.
Second conclusion.
Oh, why should I conclude?
No, because of time. I gave you 7 minutes, and it's up.
You see, you talk of Ajepa and Co. as if Ajepa, for instance, it is not something that we have even started. It is in the process. And what Martin Amidu did, you cannot use it as an indicting somebody, because it's an advice. A corruption, potential corruption related things that you say that somebody wrote a report and says that, okay, for me, I think that if you do A, B, C, D, it will amount to corrupt, and therefore don't do it. Then you say that is an indictment, and for that matter, Nanado should bow his head in shame. So sometimes, I don't know, the NDC, whether they listen to themselves, because they went their headquarters to establish a school, a propaganda school, and then normally convert there and then bring their own propaganda. They think that
All
they
right.
can come
Thank you very
here
much.
and hoodwink Ghanaians into believing them.
Thank you very much.
Please, Kwame, and end.
I've given you.
And let
7
me also
minutes.
say that the PDS. He mentioned PDS and all those things. As if PDS, NPP didn't do anything about it. Indeed, even the PDS scandal that actually came to the public for domain was the NPP and then the government itself that actually brought it out. It was because of the second level of due diligence that we did with ECG that we went to Qatar.
I think it was the opposition that raised the
opposition
issue.
didn't
And
raise
the investigation was subsequently conducted and they found out.
The opposition were
But
just.
why do you think opposition is just
Listen, the opposition was just suspecting that they should be wrong.
Of course, that's what prompted an investigation
You
into
see,
the
the
matter.
opposition. No, I'm saying that the opposition was suspecting wrongdoing.
How do you give a contract to a hairdresser? Baba.
But you see, it was the MPP, the government itself. To the extent that
Government's personal Baba.
no, to the extent, Kwame, stop that. You see, what you are doing,
Sorry, go ahead. The other one.
no.
Statement of fact.
We have a problem with you.
It's a statement of fact.
You see, some of Brian Babin will have problem with you.
Why?
So I'm saying,
Okay, let me keep
because of the way he's doing things.
I'm only asking. Yes, I can conclude.
So I'm saying that government actually did second due diligence.
All right.
The whole transaction. You remember my involvement in this whole concession thing.
Of course.
So I knew A to Z.
All right.
What the NDC did with the
So in a
concession.
conclusion,
But I'm saying that we should praise. Anytime PDS is
we should
mentioned,
praise the government.
the president in particular must be praised.
All right, thank you.
Because let me end it. Because what happened? The PDS matter. Fraud was commissioned. The president says that once fraud has been commissioned, it vitiates everything, and I am not going to allow PDS to continue.
Yes,
and to the extent that even it incurred the wrath of the United States government.
So do you agree?
And they decided to withdraw their the last piece of the 130 million.
So do you agree?
So we should be praising them every time PDS is mentioned.
Do you agree with people when they say that is why you introduce the Japa to equalize?
No. Ajapa is just to ensure that we get maximum use of our mineral resources.
In the tax haven, yeah.
So of course, for tax haven, do you know even the
so it's good.
The Heritage Fund. The Heritage Fund when it was established. Do you know where we put it?
Oh, thank you.
The Euroclear.
Soprano, yeah.
Kwame, please, I just wanted to use the opportunity to draw attention back to the subject at hand, which is not the comparison of the mediocre performance of the NPP or the NDC. You see, what is happening here is the topic is actually about corruption. Martin Amidu, explodes, calling President Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, the mother serpent of corruption. The mother serpent of corruption. And I think that's what we should, please. As we get ready to vote, I think that we ought to, as Ghanaians, as the electorate, that we ought to really interrogate, as Kwame you say, this assertion that His Excellency, the President of Ghana, is a mother serpent of corruption. And this is the opinion of the former special prosecutor. And Kwame, personally, I have great disappointment in the special prosecutor in what I find to be his street fight with our presidents, not just President Akufo-Addo. You see, not just President Akufo-Addo. I never liked the way he confronted President John Mahama and publicly like that. And then President Akufo-Addo, and then you talk about President. No, you see, Kwame, our presidents, I keep on telling you, personally, I don't have much faith in President Akufo-Addo or President Mahama. I think that Ivor Green Street can do a better job. But I respect the office they occupy, primarily because, if nothing at all, it's the Convention People's Party who created that Flagstaff House that they are all enjoying nyafu. You see, so we want the sanctity of the President's office to be protected. So I have a problem with anybody, no matter who the official is, who seems to be toying with the office of the president. Look, if you have a case against the president or the office of the president or any of the president's officials, you ought to go to court. But you cannot be standing in the street and throwing blows at the president of Ghana, whichever party that he might belong to. I have a problem with that, Kwame. I think that Ghana, we love President Honorable Martin Amidu. That love we have for Honorable Martin Amidu was evident in the spontaneous relief and joy we felt when he was appointed. You understand? But Honorable Martin Amidu has the tendency to throw a tantrum once too often, to tell the truth. You see, so we cannot be having somebody, no matter, you see, Kwame, currently in Ghana, today, as we speak, the most popular man by mandate of the people in this country is President Akufo-Addo. The next most popular person is President John Mahama. You understand? So what I'm saying here is that no matter how Mr. Martin Amidu feels he is loved, the empirical data shows that he's not as loved as President Akufo-Addo or President Mahama. In that order, excuse me, let me make my point so that when you get the opportunity, let me make my point. I will never accept anybody who seems to be street fighting our presidents, regardless of who the president is. If you have a problem, you understand, you go to court. Now, you go to court. Please don't tackle the president publicly and do a back and forth like that. If it's John Mahama, I won't accept it. If this is the Convention People's Party saying that we do not like the way somebody. No. I'm representing the party here. Okay. So in that regard, if you ask me if the TPP is speaking, please, no. Can I make my point so that you rebut it? You can rebut it when you want. I'm saying here that I do not accept the situation whereby any official in this state, street fights the president of the Republic of Ghana. Please, no. Let me make my point here. I'm making a presentation. You have the right to rebut it when you get an opportunity. When President John Mahama was in office, I didn't like the way Honorable Martin Amidu was doing that back and forth with him in the public. Ridiculing the president of Ghana. And it is happening again. In any case, Honorable Martin Amidu, we gave him everything. There is no office in this country that has everything that he wants. Even the president of Ghana, in his office, he doesn't have all the resources he wants to do what he wants. So Martin Amidu, when we gave him whatever resources we gave him, we expected at least one conviction. This man sat in office for 2 years and he's not convicted even one person. Let's take note of that. And then finally, this whole talk about the president of Ghana as a mother serpent of corruption. You see, Kwame, I want to state this as a fact that in a democratic dispensation, the greatest act of corruption is a coup d'etat. It is not going to steal money. The greatest act of corruption in a democratic dispensation is a coup d'etat when you overthrow the president, the elected president. Honorable Martin Amidu was one of the coup d'etat peoples. And how can you now today say that President Akufo-Addo is a mother serpent when he is a coup d'etat man? I don't think he has credibility, at least from where I come from. And that's why I rest my case. Thank you.
I think that first of all, I am hugely disappointed.
You be disappointed.
Clearly, I am disappointed because it appears that even the CPP on daily basis, based on its communicators, begin to be more or less moving away from their own basic principles and what their party actually stands for. And there's the need for the leadership of the party to importantly consider looking at the way they recruit people as members of the party, and again take them through their principles and ideology and what they stand for. There is simply nothing wrong with a citizen of this country on daily basis expressing his views about the governance of this country as far as the presidency is concerned on daily basis. If I decide as Hamza Suhini to be releasing an article on daily basis questioning the president's conduct, I am clothed with the constitutional mandate to do so. That cannot be referred to as street fighting. And so if Martin Amidu, please, he's doing it. If Martin Amidu is doing it by dint of the fact that he's a former. He's not doing that. Come. You see, when we sit here on daily basis and we question the conduct of either President Mahama or Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who are exercising our right, it is not street fighting. And Martin Amidu must not be denied that legal right.
He's also questioning Martin Amidu.
And he's also
questioning Martin Amidu.
No. Hold on. I don't have a problem. But I am telling you, but if what he says, he also has a right action. Then somebody must also be not absolutely to question the president, and so that is not street fighting. That's why please hold on. No, the street fighting are you not having a back? Are you not having a back?
The street fighting is metaphorically used.
Of the president.
Kwame, let me see that.
Street fighting is a metaphor. You cannot use it literally.
Again, I can understand.
Tell the CPP
Because of the flip-flopping he did when Shaka accused him of dancing to the tune. I think that he's just trying to give him a level. And I can appreciate it. I'm
you don't met me before. Listen,
but that's my verdict on you. That's my verdict on you. But that's my verdict.
You don't make a verdict on me based on.
That is not. You cannot deny me.
He's a man of opinion.
That's an opinion. Hold on. That's an opinion. I am saying that the fact that you are an independent person doesn't deny me the opportunity to pass a verdict based on my opinion.
No, it doesn't matter. That's your opinion.
Whether wrongly or right, that's your opinion. Okay, but it's Kwame, I'll come to you. Kwame, you see, again, Martin Amidi has that legal right to question the conduct of His Excellency the President. That's one. Two, I will hail any citizen of this country who makes it a duty on daily basis to take a corrupt president to the cleaners. I will hail that person. And finally, and so if Martin Amidi today is seen taking a corrupt mother serpent of corruption to the cleaners, I Hamza.
But when he took on the Airbus issue, I'm not insulting him.
Finally, you see, Kwame, it is clearly lack of foresight and appreciation to think that the highest corruption in a land is what? Coup d'etat. And I'll explain to you why. You see, certain events give birth to coup d'etats. Coup d'etat is only a consequence
of those
Coup d'etat. Please, can I Saka, please. Coup d'etat. Listen, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Can you allow me? Well, I was quiet. Please.
You were not.
Please.
It's a very poor
You see, my please, Kwame.
That's a version.
It is disregard for human rights. Gruesome murder of citizens of the country, either they are journalists or just citizens. It is wanton dissipation of natural resources and the resources of this country. That and amongst other inhumane acts that can lead to coup d'etats. And so if you think that the highest form of corruption is coup d'etat, then clearly you simply do not understand. You simply do not understand what governance and political administration. I am telling you on authority. I am telling you on authority that coup d'etat are only consequences of